You know, I'd have to say one of the biggest emails and one of the biggest Facebook things I've seen lately is we're going to die of radiation from Fukushima. Now, of course, as soon as that happened, I was a little on the concerned side there because I was thinking that we might have a problem. So I immediately put together an anti-radiation soup. I'm calling it an anti-rad soup here, but you know, it's pretty radical actually. But this anti-radiation soup is meant to be able to pull the radiation out. Now, an awful lot of people are really concerned about it. We're talking January 2014 where we're videotaping this, and I can't tell you how many people are afraid to live on the West Coast in the ocean. So my son, who lives on the West Coast, he actually did a little video of taking a Geiger counter and bringing it down to the ocean because he collects seaweeds and stuff like that. So we're going to be doing that here.
Great.
Tell us what you've been having the experience, because you've been working on a call line.
Yeah, so I get a lot of people calling in and wanting to have iodine that's not from seaweed that they can use for to fill up their thyroid with the good iodine so that they can't absorb the bad iodine or radiation that's going around. So it's a way of protecting yourself.
But it only works for about a 2-week period of time. So you taking potassium iodine is all right, but this is an acute situation, not to build it up ahead of time. In fact, you can get potassium iodine toxicity.
Yeah. And so as much as I tell people that there's a lot of fear around this, people seem to be bought into that fear. And so I think this anti-radical soup is great, or anti-rad soup, we can call it anti-radical soup, to help calm people down as well.
If you're really cool, you can't eat it because it's anti-rad.
But we can get calmed down about, there's a lot of fear out there in the world about a whole lot of things, and we all need to just chill out a little bit.
Exactly, and you said some really key points there, because one of the best things in the world to pull radiation out is kelp. Now, a lot of people are worried about the seaweeds because it's in the ocean and doing that. So what we decided to do, we've got a handy dandy little Geiger counter right here, and we're going to be doing it. So this first noodle we're going to be using here is actually made of sodium alginate from kelp. It's a kelp noodle. It's a raw thing. We're going to cook it here, but it's great in salads and stuff. It's a free noodle on the detox. It's a noodle that's all right because it's just made from the kelp, and it's all right. So you can see the background here is somewhere between 15 and 19. By the way, half the cities in North America is sitting around 38, 48, and I put a little wee thing. You can go check right today what it is. But if we look at this right here, we put it, some people don't want to use these kelp noodles because they're worried about the radiation, and it's exactly the same as the background. So we'll just get a little
picture of that.
Now, as we're doing it, it's going down. It was 18 when it was out here. It's up to 20. Also, what we're using is a lot of kelp in it, or we're using various sea vegetables. So I'm just going to take some of those.
A little.
I just got them in my hands.
Okay.
And let's just check that.
So what we're looking at here. Okay.
And these are the things that we're actually working with as anti-radiation soup. They will pull it out. But we just wanted to make sure that you know ahead of time that they weren't radioactive. And that's understandable. Now, this soup we made in 3 to 5 minutes. In fact, when I made it as an anti-radiation soup, my wife, Alexandra, doesn't let me call it that because she calls it the quick soup. Because this soup, finished to end, 5 minutes, done. So she goes, I'm really, really hungry. Can you make the fast soup? Because it tastes absolutely fantastic. And really what you need is very simple ingredients. First of all, we put, I'm going to start with this. We saute a little bit of onions in here. And that's the slowest part, by the way, sauteing the onions.
But usually by the time you get the onions sauteing, you just gather up all your other stuff and those onions are done.
That's right. And then we'll throw the garlic in. Now you can just put water in, but this is an anti-radiation tea. You can skip this whole process here. I've got the ingredients and I'll put them on the actual video here of what's in it. It's a decoction. We decocted it for 20 minutes, and I've actually put some of the seaweed in here. Did this last night, and let the seaweed sit in here. Because the fuconoids, the actual ingredient in here that works, it's better to marry over of a period of about 6 to 12 hours. And so we're just going to get more bang for the buck.
And this is also a tea blend that you could just drink as a tea.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so actually in an elixir course, my son Yarrow uses this, and it's got dandelion in it, it's got burdock in it, it's got reishi in it, it's got astragalus in it. And we just pour that in here.
That's a really nourishing tea, just for every day as well.
And now, we're lucky enough at our house that we can our own tomatoes. I'll take that little
spatula.
We're lucky enough at our house that we can our own salmon. So we're up on the west coast and actually quite a bit because my son's out there and my nephew, he's an avid fisherman. I go out there to do a lecture a couple of weeks ago, just before Christmas. He says, I'm so glad you're here. I want you to come over to my shop. He had his shop all set up with stainless steel things. He's an auto mechanic. And he had 27 salmon sitting there thawed out. And he goes, I know you're way better at fillet than me. Do you want to help me? Nice. And so I sat there for the next 2 hours filleting 27 salmon.
Nice.
And then we put them all in the smoker and smoked them. So what I've done with this, you can do it however you want to. I find that I put in 1 can, and you can just get the commercial wild salmon. These are sockeye, and I've done the commercial ones, not the ones at our house. 1 can of sockeye smoked salmon and 1 of wild sockeye salmon. Now, I'm going to chunk them up just a little. It's just easy to do them in here. You can do it straight smoked. You can do it straight ordinary, plain. I find the sockeye is one of the better salmons, but you have your choices. Pink is quite popular. And then we're going to use these sodium alginate noodles. Now, in the recipe, as you can see, I put 1.5 tablespoons of the sea vegetables. I already put some of that in here and it got a little gooky. I put a little bit in here so I didn't get it all in. We'll put that in. But right now, we're just going to take these noodles in.
So these noodles come in a package like this, and you actually don't need to keep them in the fridge until you're ready to use them. And then it's good to drain them out and rinse them under running water quite a bit, and then let them drain out really well.
And again, they're great raw on the detox. Lots of times what we'll do is take a bed of these, put some real nice lettuce above it, and maybe put an egg on top, a poached egg on top. Great. Or maybe a little bit of salmon on top. These are all great little noodle dishes you can have on the detox.
And when they're
anytime.
And when they're just raw like that, they have a nice little crunch to them too, which is really great.
And so when your kids say, what do you mean no pasta? Say, oh, well, there's always the glass noodles. Yeah. I know when I say the kelp noodles, the kids didn't like it. But when I said they're made out of glass, they're glass noodles. And that's actually what that's the literal translation in Chinese, glass noodles. And now what we need to do is just take a little bit of tomato sauce. Your choice of brands. Now, as you realize, if the tomatoes are cooked, they're acid forming. So you don't want to overdo the tomatoes. Everything else in here is alkaline. The salmon is pretty alkaline. The seaweeds and stuff like that are very alkaline. Sodium alginate, oh, it's alkaline. Yep. But this will be acidic. So this meal, we almost have to consider in our, what should I say, it's close to our 20% acidic level. It's not completely there. It's just.
So you can use, it calls for tomato paste, but you can use tomato sauce, whatever you have on hand. And if you're using the tomato sauce, you're going to need a little bit more than tomato paste, because tomato paste is concentrated.
It just brings out the richness. So now, all we're really doing is waiting for it to come to a boil. I'm going to put a little bit more liquid in here. But when I'm looking at my ingredients, it says an extra liter in here. I don't need that whole extra liter. And you make it, well, it depends if company's coming. Company's coming, there's an extra liter in there. We're home.
So that's it?
That's it.
It's done?
Done.
That was pretty quick.
That's pretty easy.
Nice.
Yeah. And now we did do some preparation ahead of time, but you can just use the water, don't need to use the tea. That's it. So now we're just waiting for it to boil. And that means we're setting the table. We do that, get it ready.
Gathering
Call
everyone
the
up.
kids. Ready.